So we are here with...
I'm Brett Batteau from Zuul, from Southern Illinois. Glad to be talking to you.
Now, the name Zuul, what does that mean? What is it?
Well, we got together talking about a name for a band. Ghostbusters was definitely something we were into, and we were all watching that movie, especially me and Bob. And we wanted just a short name right to the point, and just like something that would stick out there, maybe be at the end of the catalog or the end of the record cabinets. And if you got the disease, well, hopefully you were, interested in what we might have to say. So that's how we came about the name, really. We talked a little bit about it, and to be honest with you, I don't even know if we had any other options. I think we just figured out that was the name and went with it, So.
When you formed the band, what did you have in mind? Where did you want to go musically?
Well, the biggest thing we did was Bob and I have a passionate love for the Helicopters, and but Michael said this as well. The one thing that tied us all together was that new wave of British heavy metal.
True.
That's how we cut our teeth. That was something we could all agree on, basically. I am definitely have a different taste of music than some of the other guys in the band. Jared's got his own taste. Morgan's got his own taste. Mike, of course, is probably the only real heavy metal person, diehard in the band. And Bob, a lot of punk. But that new wave of British heavy metal was something that tied us all together because it had elements of punk. It had elements of stuff that I liked, like Deep Purple and stuff like that, and older style of music, and it was basically what tied us in together, made us what we were. Talking about how Zuul's influence, what kind of brought us.
And we have another member just joined us, and you are?
I'm Bob, the bass player.
Bob, the bass player, right? So now there's two.
Yeah.
Now, so when you put all of these influences and players together, what came out musically?
A pretty unique kind of heavy metal that we sure as hell weren't aware of, like this new wave trad metal or whatever trend that was starting up. We kind of just did it on our own.
That was like, we didn't know that there was a scene happening around that. We just knew that these tunes we could all agree on.
For sure.
And like we liked that style, and so we took what we did and and it happened to be happening at the same time, It's like,
right.
Now, you mentioned you're from Southern Illinois. What area exactly?
I was born and raised in Carbondale, Illinois, which is about 2 hours from St. Louis and 3 hours from Nashville, Tennessee.
It's a college town that's always had a real vibrant music scene. A lot of notable bands have come out of there, and some bigger bands used to tour through there. Black Flag and Nirvana used to come through.
Right.
It's always had a great music scene.
What's it like to be a band in that area?
It's actually a lot easier than up in the city. We've never had to pay for a rehearsal space. It's easy for us to.
There's always a house, you can practice in the basement.
Yeah.
And at that time, there was a lot of bands coming in and out. There was the Lost Cross, big underground punk house. There was always a vibrant music scene, be it blues,
and everybody knows each other,
yeah.
So it's easy to get on shows. It's easy to book shows. We all know the bars, if there is a booking agent, which is kind of rare down there.
Right, and everybody was wanting to play a show. Everybody wanted to get out and do what they did, and so everybody was real supportive of that, and they wanted to come out and see your band no matter what you played. And
whether it was punk rock or experimental stuff, because there's plenty of all that going on down there.
Yeah,
Not so much heavy metal that isn't
we were probably one of the early
outcasts.
Right. Yeah. We were definitely a more of a heavy metal band than anybody else that was happening around the time.
For sure.
There was hard rock and stuff like that, and it's a vibrant scene of people creating and making music.
How long did it take for you before it musically made sense for you?
I tell you what. So I lived in a town that was close to Carbondale, this other small town called Murfreesboro. I came home one day and noticed my neighbor had a license plate that I thought said Turbo Negro with some letters missing, and I was like, who the hell in Southern Illinois has a license plate with Turbo Negro. So I go over there and introduce myself, and which is Mike, who happened to live next to me at the time. And we just hit it off. I mean, we immediately started sitting around, like, smoking dope and talking. And he's, like, metal to the bone. And I've always liked heavy metal, a lot of, like, you know, the classic bands or whatever. He turned me on to all this new wave stuff, and then started showing me his riffs, and I was like, this stuff is pretty good. And all those new wave singles that I heard are essentially like pop songs with harmonies. So I was like instantly drawn in by the hooks. So like his songs combined with, you know, I write more like action rock type of stuff or punk stuff. I just like knew that like something good could happen. And me and him like dicked around for a while, just trading riffs, talking about band ideas. But the plan was really solidified when I happened to meet this guy in a record store. I overheard him talking about a Helicopter CD, which is my favorite band.
Again,
Tattoo and all.
The Helicopters.
And I was like, you know, I rarely approach people, but I was like, hey, were you talking about the Helicopters? And by the end of us talking, he was like singing in the record store. And at that point, I was like, okay, we need to fill out the rest of this lineup. We've got what we need. We got a songwriter. We've got a style. I found like an amazing singer. And it didn't take long for me to call on some other friends that I played with in other bands.
How long before you made your first record?
Oh shit! Like at least a
What led to
year.
it?
Well, we immediately started writing a couple songs and then like filled out. I mean, I always think about our first show. I don't think about our first recording. When a band starts, like I want to get to playing a show. I don't want to like
that was all
put it on the record and stuff. So we filled out our set with like other covers, like Blitzkrieg and Crucifixion song, a bunch of these new wave songs that I was like, we were like,
stuff like that.
Nobody in Southern Illinois is going to know that these
But
are our songs.
they thought they were our songs because nobody had heard
and
them.
we didn't say anything different.
So
We were like, yeah, we wrote that.
yeah,
That
we banked on it. Yeah.
So like writing songs, I mean, we took our time with them. It took like months of weekly practices to get the songs where we wanted them. So we started in 06.
Yeah. And we wanted to play at shows. We wanted to play out. You know, it's like.
You wanna show the first album and then talk about the songs and anything else that has to do with that record?
Out of time.
So yeah, this was definitely our first collection of songs. Pretty much everything we were writing up to that point made the record, and it was just like constant energy at practices. You know, it was either Mike or myself that would bring in a pile of riffs and start tying songs together. You know, he was like super creative at the time, coming up with lyric ideas.
Not anymore.
Well, it petered out for a while. But
What kind of response did that album generate?
the fact that, like, you know, Chris, who knows all these labels and everything, he hooked us up with High Roller Records and just the whole network of what's going on, and the response was crazy. Like, we were getting like reviews from all these other countries, and we were like, how the hell do people like even hear our record? And you know, our record's like selling, you know, hundreds of copies or whatever.
Yeah, Chris really turned us on to that, and turned us on to High Roller and Stefan, and like it was just overwhelming to see the response. I mean, the people, you know, really were into it and really, you know, cared about, and we were all blown away. Just the fact that, you know, someone like really was into it, and so that just like built our, you know, I mean, it just makes you
None of
feel
us
like,
had ever been in a band where somebody else was willing to like pay for our CD to be made.
Exactly.
So that was amazing. And then like it gets released in other countries, and like people are contacting us like, we love it, blah blah blah.
Yeah, and then talking to us and wanting to like review the record and talking about it, and I mean, yeah, like I said, I'd never been in a band that anybody really, besides just like playing with somebody's house or recording a tape,
Yeah,
you
just
know,
like local stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, so it was a huge like new world of experience.
In a lot of ways, we didn't know what to do with
So-
it, except for just keep writing songs. And
That kind of sounds like a hobby that became a full-time band.
it was never a full-time band.
Uh-huh.
It was always a hobby. always a hobby. We
Yeah,
never
'cause-
dedicated any more than a day a week to it. Went on
Still
a
had to
couple-
pay our bills, you still had to work.
Yeah.
We went on some weekenders. We did like a tour in 2010 when High Spirits first tour, and
We thought that was the end of High Spirits because nobody cared about us on
Yeah.
that tour.
Right,
Like, no,
yeah.
High Spirits.
yeah, and we do like weekenders, and we just basically play around, come up to Chicago. We had fantastic times up here. We went to Hamtramck,
Michigan a
East
bunch.
Lansing, Fort Wayne, playing with Brass Rail and Fort Wayne. So it was like it was an awesome hobby.
How long before the second record was written and completed?
So both albums we recorded ourselves. Our drummer recorded stuff. So both albums we did ourselves, which is as much of a gift as it is a curse, because it's real easy to like get lazy about it
Right.
and just walk away from it for a while. So both albums, from start to finish, the recording took a solid year.
Yeah, and that is part of it. Was Morgan did record it, and it was a blessing and a curse. But it's just like so we had to fit in between work, we had to fit in between this, we had to fit in between that, or
We were both like new parents.
I had new kids, Bob had kids. It's just
It
like
was a lot of life juggling.
Yeah.
It's amazing that the second album that we were able to make an album that we like really, really like, that I think tops the first one.
Yeah, it shows growth and it shows where we were at, and it also, deals with making an
It's
album.
incredibly introspective on the guys in the guys in the band's relationships, and starting with like the success of this album. Like there were a lot of highs and lows with people's reactions in the band, and
Yeah.
we just transferred all of that into the second album.
5 guys trying to get along.
How would you describe your image? Because looking at you, you guys don't look like metal guys, but then you see you on stage and you're completely kicking ass, which is like totally awesome.
We just stayed ourselves.
Yeah.
Mike is like the metal dude on stage, and I'm like the punk dude on stage, and then we got some rocker guys, and like the fact we never like considered like having like a uniform image, because
we are what we are. And we do what we do. And it wouldn't be the same if we tried to do something different, because we are all very different people, and we bring every part of that to what we do in Zuul. And that's kind of what makes it work.
and that stands out in heavy metal too.
Right,
Because
exactly.
like heavy metal can be very like cookie cutter.
Yeah.
And our best shows are the ones where we're like tanking it on the music, and like it's just train wreck, but we just like have a good time with it, and like make jokes on stage, and people like that shit.
We're like a gang. When we're done playing, we hang out together, because it's what makes us what
Unless
we make
somebody's
us.
catching some strain.
Well, yeah. Somebody's getting into something.
At this point, what's next for Zuul?
you know,
World domination.
like after we went on this Europe tour, we definitely have the fire inside of us to like make a third album. We're just like in a logistic nightmare. Like 3 guys are in the same area, 1 guy's up here in Chicago, I'm in Indiana, and it's just like it's got to be the right time, I guess, and we all want to do it. It's just the push.
You just need the motivation, and it also like between these two, it took the time it took. But this is when we all lived in the same towns together.
Yeah.
And we're in each other's pocket all the time.
Yeah.
So with other people not living in the same places, it's really got to be more focused. It's like it's going to have to be okay. We're going to do this. It's
Because
like,
it was never a band that did things on our own. It was always like if we're gonna write a song, we all have to be partnered. Nobody like brings in a song. It's like here's the song, it's complete. Here's all the lyrics, everything. It never worked like that.
Zuul is the collective of what we are. So it was somebody's riff comes in, and Jared adds a part, Morgan adds a part, I wrote the lyrics, Bob adds a part. We change stuff around. So that makes it more difficult when you're not in each other's pockets all the time. So.
Yeah.
But the
But you
passion's
having fun?
there. What's happening?
But you having fun?
Say again?
But you having fun?
Oh, we're having fun.
Most
Oh yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
Most definitely.
Well, sometimes writing songs is like a horrible experience, and you want to like punch your best friend
here right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we care enough about to do it. And Europe was a super bonding time for us to get back to
Just all
that
being
we had
together,
fun. Yeah.
hanging out. It's all a treat now because before it was like every week, every Thursday or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
And that like wears on you, and people don't want to show up or people cancel or whatever.
It's like a
so
job.
now it's like when something comes up, it's like it's easy for us to all make time for it and be psyched about it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much.